So, hello, my name is Orzulya and I'm studying dentistry at RSU, and I'm a second year student. First year, to be completely honest, it was a little bit challenging because considering the fact that we were just freshly out of high school and it's a lot to learn, but it was incredibly interesting. I felt like the most important thing was to learn how to study, because now it's a whole different level. So in the first year, it's pretty much a continuation of the high school, but we go more deeper in details in some subjects. For example, we had molecular biology, we had physics, we had inorganic chemistry. Also very important to learn anatomy. We also had to learn Latin in order to understand that. And also, since I am living and studying in Latvia, we had to learn the Latvian language as well. For me personally, I think I forgot to mention it, but for me personally, I think histology was one of the most interesting and perhaps challenging subjects in the first year. For me personally, I was so interested that I even bought a book that had 800 pages and I kept rereading. I tried to draw everything, tried to memorize, so I would say it was quite challenging and it would take up a lot of time, but it was very worth it because later on in the process of studies you really need the subject. So which subjects that I personally found challenging? I would say that for me it was, to start off, it was physics, because at school I wasn't that much interested in physics. So after coming to the university, I faced the fact that I have to know the subject, and just what I tried to do is look up the videos on YouTube. I tried to draw the schemes, I tried to understand, and I feel like as soon as you grasp the concept, it becomes so much easier to learn something. And obviously I was really lucky to have amazing group mates, and we would help each other. For example, with the tasks, they would explain something to me when we had to do the calculations. So I felt like the teamwork in some subjects that are not your profile subjects but are still needed is very important. If we talk about my revision techniques, I feel like everybody has their unique approach to studying. In my opinion, that every subject kind of requires its own unique approach as well. If we talk about the subjects like physiology, for example, I felt like it was more efficient if I worked by myself. So at first I would write everything down. It pretty much worked for me perfectly, and then I would just read it a couple of times. But then another approach is that you have to sit down with your classmates or with your friends and ask each other questions. I feel like it's a perfect technique because you find out if you have some holes, and you just fill the spaces in and you understand what you might have missed. Some tips that I would like to be told when I just started my first year. I feel like it's important to start with the fact that we come here, we want to study, we want to be the best, right? And sometimes after high school we just come and try to delve very much deep into the studies, and it might lead to the burnout. And I feel like it's very important to find a perfect balance. So for example, each day you allocate a certain number of hours that you're studying, and after this you just have to completely close every single book that you've been working on. You have to relax and, for example, go unwind, take a walk, talk to your friends. It's very important that a few hours before sleep you're just not doing everything, because I felt like it was a problem with me and with a lot of my friends that we were just so burned out before the important session because we were just overexhausting ourselves every single day. I feel like it's important to find the balance and allocate some time to yourself as well. Also, another tip that I find very important is that I noticed that students mainly pull the thing that is called all-nighters. It's basically when you study for the entire night and in the morning you have an exam or maybe some classes. What personally works for me, because I've tried this one, but I've found another approach that works perfectly for me, is that I just wake up when the exams are around the corner. I just wake up, let's say at 5 or 4:30 in the morning, and before the classes or before anything that I have that day, I study. Given that I went to sleep no later than midnight, of course. And yeah, I just feel like it's so much easier to retain information and you get so many more things done. Yes, the first few days it might be challenging to wake up so early, but when you get used to it, when you get a grasp of it, I feel like it's a perfect approach because you won't be looking like a squeezed out lemon the next day. As we all know, there are different types of study techniques, and what I personally noticed or what I personally used, in every subject you have to kind of use a different technique. For me personally, after having some classes, I prefer to stay at the university, at the library, because we have amazing libraries that work actually 24/7. So after the classes, I just stay there and I work and study for 5 to 6 hours, depending on how much time I have left in that day. By the end of the week, after doing all the self-studies, me and my friends, we just prefer to gather somewhere, let's say when you are allowed to make some noise, like at the cafe or at some common areas in our university, and we would like to quiz each other, again, to see if we have any holes in the materials, and it just helps a lot. So that is the study technique that we used, but I know some people prefer to just exclusively study alone. Some people prefer to make flashcards, for example, so it's a very good revision technique as well. But for me personally, I prefer to learn big chunks of information, so I just write everything down and I keep rereading it, and I feel like it just connects perfectly in my mind, and not only do I learn it, but I also understand it very well. So even if I forget a certain chunk of the information, I can just develop it because I understood the concept. So these are the techniques that me and my friends use. It's an important question that arises in between a lot of international students, or like just the students that are starting their first year, is how to make friends. It's a very interesting question, and I might say that for some people it's more challenging than for the others. And what I personally found working for me is that I, for example, join different events, or I become a part of different societies, or just go to the library, and you can make friends pretty much everywhere. And it's so interesting that within the international students, everybody is so different, and we all come from different corners of the world, so that you can definitely find somebody who would be your soulmate, you know? So many people to choose from, so many nationalities, so many ethnicities, and you will definitely find something so interesting for yourself and probably just make friends for the rest of your life. What I've noticed is that international students are incredibly friendly. Personally, I didn't face any problems in making friends with international students or students in the university in general, because you know how when we were children it was so easy to make friends. I feel like in the university it's pretty much the same. You just come up to somebody and you're like, hello, want to be friends? And it pretty much works this way, you know. Obviously you have to get to know each other, and you go to certain places, come up with some activities, and then you understand if it's your person or not. But it's very, very easy, because just as you are aiming to make some friends, they are in the search of the same thing as well. So it works out perfectly. So that would be it from me today. I really hope that you enjoyed and that the information that I gave you will be very helpful, and hope to see you soon.